Hey guys, it's Born Free here. Welcome back to my channel. I have the one and only DIEMINION with me. Last time we spoke actually was Capcom Cup in like 2012, I think. That actually felt like a major in New York City. This one is a ranking event, so like my ask for Capcom is please make this a premiere next year because it's New York City and we need a premiere here. But anyway, let's talk about like the ranking event, right? So you are currently the third American. You're in what? 19th, was it 18th or 19th?
Number 19, yes.
Number 19. Mm-hmm. So, are you in or not? Like,
I'm in, yeah, because I have over 200 points.
Okay.
So I'm pretty much a shoe-in. I don't have a qualification, but I have enough points to just stay in the top 32.
Okay. So that's like good news because I'll see you in December because I'm looking forward to that. But as you go into the Capcom Cup, do you think differently about it? Because this time it's not Evo, right? Like this time you know exactly, I know it's still a lot, it's 31 other players, but you know exactly who you're going up against. Is that, how do you prepare for that?
Well, mentioning Evo, in comparison, I would actually have to say this is more difficult than Evo. Because at big tournaments, if you're a top seeded player or you're like just a top player in general, generally you play matches against players that aren't really established or aren't really up to your level or your seed. But in tournaments that are qualification tournaments where there's only good players, you play match after match of players that are good. There's no fluff in between. Not to disrespect anyone that's that's a tournament player, but yeah, kind of fluff, looking kind of fluffy. I don't know. No, but there's no fluff in between matches. So you just play straight to the point players.
Okay.
Xian, Bonchan, whoever.
Is that so? I'm talking about Bonchan, right? So you beat him at CEO, and you beat him at final round. Is that right?
Yes.
So are you his nemesis?
To be honest, I think Bonchan is still a better player than me. I don't know by how much, but I still have a feeling that he's better than me. But I know that matchup so well, and he doesn't know that matchup. In my opinion, I don't think he knows the matchup to the extent that I know the matchup. I think as a player overall, he's better than me because he's beaten better players than me in tournament too, on a consistent basis.
Gotcha.
So even though I beat him, I still think he's better.
You're one of the few Street Fighter players who will say things like that. You're just like, I'm the best. I don't care what anyone says.
I try to be like, I guess they say when you admit that you're humble, you're not really humble, but I like to be real about everything. I don't like to say things like, a win is a win, or he won, so that's it. Or he wins all the tournaments, so he got to be the best. I'm like an analytical person, so I look at stats, I look at situations, I look at, I just look at everything about what makes a player. Not because he wins, he's the best.
Okay, so I have another question for you. Okay. A lot of players recently have been saying publicly, I've seen it publicly written, and players I've spoken to have told me that at this stage with Street Fighter 4, the way they practice tends to be more in their head. Like they imagine scenarios, and like that blows my mind because for me, I'm like, don't you need to keep up the execution? So tell me, how do you practice?
Well, I've been finding myself practicing for about 6 hours a day, at least, in preparation for Capcom Cup. I've never practiced this much before at all. Like daily, I've never practiced this much before, and there's just so much on the line. It's not even just about the money. It's just about, an American player has never won a major tournament, especially this year. An American player hasn't won a major tournament international.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot on the line. It's the last major tournament for Street Fighter 4. So this is like our one shot to do it. Even Luffy from Europe won Evo.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
So Europe has a title, but we don't have a title yet. Yeah. So there's more than just the money on the line. There's a prestige, and So I practice like six hours at least a day. It's been showing in my results. I'm pretty consistent. Like I think last 2 weekends ago, SoCal Regionals was like the only tournament I didn't get top 8. I got 9th place. Okay. So But I also had the hardest road to win the tournament.
But tell me a little bit more about the practice
Okay.
itself. What does it involve?
Oh, okay. So the practice itself, it's like you said, you mentioned before about how players like to, create scenarios in their head and try to figure out ways how to counter or whatever. So I pretty much emulate those scenarios online, in training mode, not online, in training mode. And I just recreate those scenarios using the record playback feature and the memory function. And I just put myself in so many different situations that I've seen other players from, like YouTube videos, like what they do, or what I've been like hit with in the past or whatever, and just try to figure out ways how to deal with it any way, anything I can find, whether it be defensive, offensive, trying to buy time, or just anything really.
So you still go through that process of thinking about the game, but you actually get in the training room and you practice that execution. Like, do you feel like over time, if you're not doing that, you're going to lose the execution?
I feel like execution plays a very big role, and combos does save lives. Shout out to Sai, Pi Sai. But combos really do save lives. Like missing a combo is like the difference between winning the match, for the most part anyway. For like a lot of people, like you see so many times where you've seen that was godlike. But anyway, most of the time you see like Justin Wong missed like the EX Messiah kick into the Ultra, or like Ricky Ortiz missed the EX Messiah kick into the Ultra, and they've been missing it so much before that they call it the Evil Genius special. Like when they miss that, it's like expected for them to miss it, that they've been missing it so much. Okay. And I know like Rufus has like this thing, like kind of like a little input bug or whatever, but it just pretty much comes down to just getting the inputs clean. If you get the inputs clean, then you won't miss it. Okay. But other characters have like shortcuts to their moves, so they get theirs, but Rufus doesn't get his for some odd reason. Okay. But
sorry, go on.
I think if you don't use your execution, you lose it. Like it's the same thing with anything in life, culture, language, anything. If you don't use it, you lose it.
So do you practice 7 days a week, or do you take breaks?
Like at least 4 days a week. At least 4 days a week. I think I should start practicing even more.
But it's interesting because I often think that sometimes when you take a little break, your brain processes a few things. Like
when you give your brain time to think, I think mostly after practice. I don't think after matches in particular, like when you actually play people. Yeah. And you give your brain time to think, I don't think that helps. I think when you practice and you kind of give your brain time to like sum everything up, then you progress. But if you're just playing people, you're not really playing to figure things out. You're playing to figure things out about the player that you're playing, but you're not playing to figure things out in general. You're just trying to play to figure things out about the player to beat the player. You're not figuring out things in the long-term general, So, if you give your time, if you give your brain time to just process everything after like practice sessions, not practice sessions, but like after training practice sessions, then you'll progress, All
right, so there you have it, guys. If you want to be as good as DIEMINION, you have to spend 6 or 7 hours a day, every day. No, but I think that's important to say is not all players can just think about games and not practice and be brilliant. There's a lot of players who spend a lot of time in the training room with their execution to make sure that it doesn't like drop like on the day.
Even just to add something on that. Even me, like when I first started playing, I was never at this level where I could process the information. It took me time to get to this level where I'm able to now not play so many games and put things together. But that takes time. So you have to get to a certain level first, and then from there you can start to like think about situations or things like that. So,
all right, I want to ask you about Street Fighter 5.
Okay.
How much time have you had to play it? Which versions have you played?
I played the very first beta that was released for PlayStation about, I don't know how long it was ago, but it might have been like a month and a half ago. And that was the version with Ryu, Nash, Chun-Li, and Bison. And since then, the first time I played was last night. I had a little bit more excitement about the game, not as much as I did, not as least as I did when I first played the game and a month and a half ago. but I only think it's because there's new characters now, and there's like Karen, Rashid, Vega. I didn't play Vega, but I played Karen, Rashid, and Nikali. And Nikali's a brand new Street Fighter character, even though he might have some characteristics of characters from previous Street Fighter games. The idea of the character is still new. So I had a little bit more fun with it, especially now that there's an option to play versus the human in training mode. You just set the setting to human, and you set the life bars to normal or whatever, and you can play like a real match in training mode. I still feel like overall there's still something missing from the game that just gives it that flair.
What is it? What is it? Do you know? Have you thought about? I mean, have you had time to think about it?
The game is kind of slow.
The game's slow.
So
it is slower.
And I can understand why it's slow. Obviously, they're trying to attract a broader audience, a bigger audience. And
people like me, right? This guy right here.
Yeah. And it's hard to follow a game that's fast-paced. I guess for some people that don't know anything about fighting games, don't know the first thing about fighting games, I can totally understand the approach that Capcom is taking with this game. So, as a expert fighting game player with a lot of history with fighting games, I understand the approach. If you want to attract a bigger audience, you have to do things that appease a larger crowd. You can't just make every game the same. You can't make every game hardcore like it was. You have to dumb things down. I always compare the FGC to like the hip hop mainstream game.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and like hip hop nowadays is like really watered down, and it's become so commercial that
it's pop.
It's pop. It's pop music. It's popular music. Like back then it was more hardcore. Less people were into it, but I think over time people would just fit into it gradually. But I think because it's become so popular, and there's been a lot of collaborations with hip hop artists, with pop artists, and like R&B artists, it just became more diverse, and that's kind of the approach that fighting game has to take in order to attract the people that haven't been into fighting games all these years.
I mean, it's sort of like a double-edged sword for someone like you who essentially is at the end of the day, like you're a pro player, right? Like pro. Yeah, so like you make money at these tournaments when you win them or when you place in them, and like it's sort of a double-edged sword because what you've got on the one hand is a game which potentially you may not enjoy as much as like let's say Ultra Street Fighter 4 or something like that, but then it's also a game which is the future and there's going to be more money in it and the scene is going to be bigger and.
Yeah, you have to sacrifice something to get something. It's nothing comes. You can't have your cake and eat it. Like you have to sacrifice something to get something, and that's something that the FGC has to understand right now. And it's funny that I'm saying this because I'm a hardcore fighting game player, and I kind of don't want it to be like that, but I understand that it has to be like that to grow. So I have to just accept that this is how it has to be in order for people to want to get into fighting games.
All right, so I'm going to ask you some pretty straightforward questions on Street Fighter 5 because, what people want to know from your perspective. With the little time that you've had to play the game so far, are there any characters that you're gravitating towards at the moment? I know it's still early stages.
Well, I like Nash.
Yeah, of course.
I don't plan on throwing Sonic Booms for another 5 to 7 years, but he was like the most fun character I played in the old version.
Yeah.
And I heard things like he has gotten nerfed from his V trigger and stuff like that. Okay. And the version I played like one game of Nash in California in SoCal Regional, and he was severely nerfed, like compared to the beta. He was nerfed to the point where I was like, I'm just not gonna play this character competitively.